Good evening, everyone, and welcome to leadership training. Today we have the amazing Bryton Masiye. He is indeed a servant leader, and his organization skills and um, everything is just incredible. I first met Bryton last year, and I was just amazed at how organized this guy is. This is the absolute correct training for Bryton. So now I would like to welcome to the virtual stage Bryton Masiye.
Thank you so much, Estelle. As usual, you embellish the truth somewhat. I think I'm just normal. That's what I hear, and that's what I understand. But nonetheless, it's a one of those mutual admiration societies. Estelle is somebody that I want to be when I grow up. She's just absolutely amazing. And for the session that we're about to have, she is somebody that I draw inspiration from as well. Thank you for having really afforded me this opportunity. Just as a way of background, also, is I am a strategist. Uh, by profession. So I've been in the strategy field, planning field for the past, I'd say 15 to 16 years. That's where I am currently. And I think that's about time one actually made a move from that. But nonetheless, I enjoy it immensely. And it does have its ups and downs, but largely I always am so satisfied and fulfilled when I do see people achieving their goals. And right on cue, I'll share my slide deck. So as a way of just indication today, we'll be going through a number of phases. So the first would be kind of boring when you listen to my voice speak about planning and setting of goals is what we're going to be doing. That's the first part of the program. Then the second part of the program is the exciting part, where you get into your groups, and we'll have four groups, and we have four case studies that will really help you sort of assimilate what we've spoken about in the theory part. And then the third part, which is always the most exciting, is when you come back and give your insights and your inputs into the case studies that you've had an opportunity to look at. Right, let me share my screen. All right, it's normally the green arrow. There we go. And do let me know if my screen is visible. Right. So, goal setting and planning. So, what is goal setting and planning? And maybe before we actually do that, is why should we be interested in goal setting and planning? And one of the things that I always marvel at, or one of the quotes that I use here is it's very famous, and I forget who this is ascribed to. It goes something like, if you don't plan, you actually plan to fail. So, in other words, if you don't have a plan to get to where you're going, you're actually planning on not going there. Another one is if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So you can just walk aimlessly and be content in walking aimlessly. So the idea here is to really now solidify and synthesize this. I was just discussing with Estelle just before we started that it's always amazing that this is something that we all do. We're all planners by nature. So when we do wake up and we say, I'd like to get to work, that's actually a mini plan, if you like. How am I going to get there? What time am I going to get there? And those are all attributes of actually planning and setting goals. And we do it routinely without actually thinking about it. So I'd like to think that today I'm not demystifying anything. I'm just, normalizing and packaging and formalizing what you already know and what you routinely do. And hopefully, what we'll actually start doing is introduce some form of discipline in what we do. So why should we be interested in setting goals and also planning our way to those goals before we actually define this and try and put some sort of concreteness to this? The reason is that, as we've said, it's important for us to think forward and think about where we're going and what we're doing, and actually interrogate if indeed we can actually do this. And this will come out much stronger as we actually unpack the whole thing. So it's important to understand that there is a goal that we set, and there's a plan to get to that particular goal. So more formally, a goal is a specific objective you and your team must achieve. It's something that you set yourselves. Now, what that does, it helps you and your team to crystallize the task at hand. It's important that you're clear that you're doing. So I'm always reminded by the great story or analogy that's given that there once was a group of people that were all blindfolded. And they were introduced into a zoo pen, if you like. And they were asked to describe what they think or where they think they are, and based on their experience. So they were actually put into a zoo pen that contained a huge elephant. So the gentleman that was up front, who was touching the ear, basically, and the ear was busy flapping, says, "This must be a big fan that is actually generating all this cool air." And the one right at the end was touching the tail, and he was quite convinced there's some thick rope that is here. And I don't know what this is for, but it feels like some rope. And then the other one was just feeling the side of the elephant and says, "It feels like a very rough wall, a big rough wall that I'm holding." And, and the tusk, this must be a spear. It feels very sharp, and it must be a spear. The idea or the story behind, or the moral of the story, is that we all see things differently. So you and your teams are likely to have different ideas of what success actually constitutes. So I remember my very first club, we had to actually sit down and get a club success plan done. And in this club success plan, we had different people on Exco. And mind you, we're charter members, so we'd never really seen what a plan should look like. So initially, one person says, "It looks like there's goals here, and we must indicate how many goals we're going to get." And as ambitious as we were, we said, "Yeah, we can't not get any goals, but let's go for 2." And we felt that was good. Then there was a couple who were like, "No, but you know what? It's different. We understand this goals thing, but we're not here for goals. We're here just for the experience." So again, that analogy of actually having different parts of the elephant and not having the full picture, and also not agreeing, is quite important to dispel up front and clear out. So it's therefore important that we set specific objectives for ourselves, which we call the goal. So if that's the goal, there's a way of actually getting to the goal. What then is that? That's a plan. So a plan is a path that leads you to that particular goal, right? So a plan is the blueprint for achieving these goals that we set ourselves. So again, it's all very well to say we want to be, distinguished, president distinguished, which is the highest that we can. Oh, mind you, by the way, Toastmasters is introducing a new level of highness next year, and that is going to be the Smedley Distinguished Clubs. And that is 10 out of 10, as well as 25 members. Right. So it's important that we understand that we can claim it and name it and claim it, but it's important to understand how we get there. So the plan becomes the blueprint that takes us to those goals that we've actually planned. So first and foremost, we must have a goal. But that goal is as good as just a dream, a pie in the sky, if we don't have a plan to actually get there. So it's important that we sit down and we actually thresh out this plan. And we'll actually look at what parts or components of a plan constitutes a well laid out plan. So starting first and foremost about the goal. So we normally talk about our goals must be specific. So one of the things I always say is I'll never jump onto a plane to Cape Town without knowing how much the ticket is, right? I might have a credit card and and hope that my credit card will actually pay for the ticket. But if I don't know specifically how much it costs, I don't know how much I should have on that credit card. So one of two people will be upset at the end of that trip. Either the airline is going to get a declined card because I don't have enough on that card, or I'll find that they've taken half the money on my credit card and I'm very upset. So it's always good upfront to have a specific goal, a goal that you can actually, sink your teeth into and say, when we have arrived, it looks like this. That is the specific goal. It should not be ambiguous. In other words, it can't be, we want to make people happy at Toastmasters. We want all our members to be happy. So what is happy? How do we define happy? It's important to understand that the goal must be very specific, tangible, and clear to everybody on the team. It must also be measurable. How do we measure it? So for example, if we say we want a successful club, it's the KPIs that are there, the 10 KPIs, the 6 educationals, the 2 membership goals, and the training goals, as well as the other administrative goals. Those are the goals that then we can measure and quantify. And I know that the right-brained people might not really like this. So I'm left-brained, I'm a numbers person, and everything must be quantified. And we say, but there's more than the quantity. But I always also argue that the quality aspect is actually manifested when the quantity comes out. So if I have a quality club, it must show by the number of levels that are completed by the members, surely. If I have a quality club, it must show by the number of conversions that we get in terms of visitors to members. So it doesn't actually exclude the qualitative stuff, but it is a proxy to that. So we normally have what we call actual measures and what we call proxy measures. So actual measures are those measures that are literally what they say. So if we say 4 new members, that's the actual measure. So if we then look at certain things as proxy, in other words, we don't have something we can quantify, but it resembles or it signifies certain activity. Just like quality, we talk about quality clubs being signified by the measures that the DCP program has. We talk about also, it must be action oriented. So there must be a verb somewhere that would actually is invoked by that goal. So if we say we want educationals done, there must be some activity, some action that happens in order to actually manifest that particular goal. And then it must be realistic. This is quite important. If I have 3 members in my club and I say, well, we are going to get 10 out of 10 goals with the 3 members, not realistic in all honesty. So for example, if we look at the training goals, we need 4 ExCo members trained in the first half, and 4 other members, ExCo members, not other, but 4 ExCo members trained in the second half or the second cycle of training. Now, that's impossible with 3 members, unless, of course, they're doubling up the roles, which is possible nonetheless. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is that it's important that we set realistic goals. So that's the first level of it. The second level is that we might have 20 people with 7 ExCo members And we're able to do this. But sometimes if we set goals that are way, way too high, it can easily dissuade people. I normally say, well, you know what? Simbini, the South African champion in 100 meters, runs in under 10 seconds, and somebody says, well, can you do less? I almost give up. I don't know, when I was last at the gym, and so it's almost a pie in the sky for me in that respect. So we must set a realistic goals. If last year we achieved 5, it's always reasonable to actually expect 7 goals. If we've got 7 goals, we then aspire for 10 goals or 9 goals. So in other words, we need to have baselines and then set our targets based on those baselines, and looking at the capability also as well. It's important. And then it's time bound. So now if you read through, that's what we call SMART goals. Right now, if any of you do work in strategy and planning, you'll have a slightly different version of that. The A would stand for attainable, and the R would stand for relevant as well. But there are many interpretations of this. But within the Toastmasters realm, we talk about specific goals, measurable goals, action-oriented goals, as well as realistic goals, and they must be time-bound. It's all very well to say, I shall become a DTM. If you don't set a time to it, it can continue as an open target. So again, when you set time to it, you're able to actually measure it. Because one of the things that we do want to do is to measure quite frequently and see if we're getting to the goal that's been established. So implementing the goals, or rather coming up with the goals, involve your team members in setting the goals. Because I'll tell you, in the organization I work for, the plan must be assessed at the end. So we have what we call organizational performance at the end of the year. And at the start of my career, you'd have many people coming through and saying, but I never knew this was a goal. No one told me I had to do this. And we're right at the end and looking for the results. So involving the team members in setting the goals does 2 things. Number one, it makes them aware what we're actually striving towards. Number 2, you already get immediate buy-in because they feel part of the process of actually setting these goals. So there's nothing as terrible as saying, thou shalt produce 20 mangoes from this tree. And it comes bottom up in that fashion. It's slightly different when we have a discussion and we say, but you know what? Over the years, our mango trees have always produced about 9. How about we look at interventions for 10? What does everybody think? And that buy-in is already there, because if I've contributed to setting that particular goal, I am more likely to actually come through. And this is something that we can also do within our clubs as well, where we say we have the 6 educational goals. Who are the 4 members that are going to be responsible for goal number 1, level 1s? Who are the 4 people that are responsible for goal number 2, 3, the 4? Once they actually contribute to that, you find that there's ownership as well in that. And it's important that we write these goals down, put them up on the board, and keep reminding ourselves and revisiting these. Because more often than not, we forget what we actually started with. How many of us remember our New Year's resolutions? How many of us wrote them down? Okay, right? Not all together, all right? So it's important that we do also write them down so that we can always revisit them and get direction. Sometimes we get lost in the activity, in the busyness of doing it, that we forget what it is that we're doing. So if we've written them down, it's easier to actually go back. Consider what you must do in order to achieve these goals. So it's important that we have steps, deliberate steps. And again, this is one of the important things of actually planning and setting goals. It allows us to actually go forward and envisage what the future is, what the success is going to look like. And once we've got that, we can actually backtrack to the start. This is where I am. This is how I am going to go there. So one of the things I used to do when I first got to Gauteng was I really was fascinated by this big spatial spread of the place. So friends I needed to visit would be on the one corner of the province, and I'd need to find, and this is pre-Google, by the way. So yes, you're fortunate now you have a phone that tells you to turn right, recalculating, make a U-turn, and so on. During that time, we didn't. So what I had was a map book of Gauteng at the time. So what I'd do is I'd actually take out this book, plot it, actually literally count the number of robots that we have before I need to turn, how many service stations do I pass, and when or what should I be looking for within the vicinity before I get to my destination. So that's also planning in a way. So when you actually say, we want to be president distinguished, what is it that we're going to do in order to get to being president distinguished? Unlike Felicia, who sits on 9 goals forever, we others are also human and normal. We need to actually be very deliberate. And I'm not saying that Felicia isn't deliberate. They probably planned it that way, that by the halfway, they'd be done already. So it's important to consider what it is that you're going to do. And again, keep checking. Where are we? If I'm going to Cape Town and I left at 7 o'clock left Joburg at 7 o'clock, and by 1 p.m., I'm nowhere near Bloemfontein, something's off. I'm less likely to get to Cape Town unless I actually, break a few speed rules, something as Toastmasters we don't do. Anyway, so regular reviews of progress is important to appraise ourselves, and that allows us to reset and actually realign and double up efforts if we need to, or be content that we are on track to where we'd like to actually get to. What about the planning then? If that is the goals that we've set ourselves, what about the planning itself? So planning reinforces the goals. So it allows us to actually think about these SMART goals, these specific, realistic goals that we've set ourselves. It allows us to understand what it is that we're aiming for. It makes the leader more future-oriented. As the leader, you must think about the end inside. So again, they say begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Picture what the finish line is going to look like. As the leader, you need to be a couple of steps ahead. It's important that you do that. And planning allows you to do that. It enables our leaders to coordinate decisions that need to be made. So once I've got a plan, I know where I am at the juncture, what decision we need to make. Can we take a Christmas break? Can we take a holiday break if we're not like Felicia and we're sitting on 4? Those are the kind of decisions that you have. So if you've got a plan, you know where on the plan you are, and you're able to actually take effective decisions as well. Ensure efficient use of resources, because we're slightly behind in one aspect of our plan. We're able to redirect resources there. If we're much, much ahead elsewhere, we can take resources from there and move them elsewhere. So again, if I have a plan, I know where I am, I know where I can take resources from and to. So in planning, we have 5 steps that we need to always remember. establish strategies. Now, I'll qualify that. I'm very uncomfortable about the use of the word strategies because we normally have a strategies long term, very long term. So that kind of thing that we're looking up, and as strategists, we normally call it BAGS, BHAGS, BAGS meaning big, hairy, audacious goal. It really is something that we want to do. So, for example, we want to have 8 divisions within the next 2 years. So it's far out. We currently have 7. We'd like to have 8. Now that's a strategy that we put out for ourselves. But then we have plans that then get us there. And so when we talk, and then we have tactics that we do, which are very, very short term in order to get there. But nonetheless, we use the word strategies here quite loosely to say establish strategies, which would be the tactics that we're talking about. Set a timetable, right? So if we don't put a deadline to anything, it never gets done. Well, at least with me, that's how it works. There's always mañana, mañana. Any of you who speak Spanish, that's what my French teacher used to talk about. Mañana means tomorrow, tomorrow. And that's how he said, well, the Spanish are like that. They'll say, we'll do that tomorrow, mañana, and so on. So if you don't set a timetable, you will not hold yourself and your team accountable to the timelines that you actually set. Assign responsibilities. Now, if anyone's ever watched cricket, there is nothing as terrible as a skied shot. What's a skied shot? So if a batsman miscues and the ball goes up into the sky, and then you have all these fielders converging to try and catch the ball. And everybody thinks everyone else is going to catch the ball. And they withdraw. And guess what happens? The ball drops safely. So again, it's important to assign responsibilities. And that's why we have a team around you to assign the responsibilities and clearly articulate whose responsibility it is. By assigning responsibilities, we're not saying you're all on your own. No one's coming to help you. We can pitch in as well, but there's an accountable person who takes account of the 6 educational goals. There's a person that takes responsibility for the 2 membership goals, and so on and so on. So it's important to assign responsibilities in your plan. Then we need to anticipate obstacles. In technical terms, we talk about mitigating your risks. In other words, Murphy always happens. Whether we like it or not, whether we like him or not, Murphy always happens. So we think about all the things that could impede us from actually reaching our goal, and then thinking about solutions. Of course, we could wait until it happens and then start thinking about the solutions. But there's something efficient about thinking about any possible problem and coming up with potential solutions. And I used to have a very, very, very bad relationship with risk management, which is basically what it is. And I used to think, why would I tell you what I could fail at? It's important to do that. Risk management is your friend, because when something happens, you already have a plan in order to mitigate for that. So what could stop us from actually getting the 4 level 1s? Maybe 2 of our level 1s might find this is not for them, and they're going to stop after 6 months. And we've only got 2 level 1s done. So maybe it might be a good idea to actually have 6 of them working towards that, so that if 2 do drop off, you still got 4 that are going on. What might happen if we're called into lockdown? Well, we all think that with COVID. So always anticipate what could go wrong, anticipate the obstacles, and also have plans or mini plans for these as well. And finally, all plans go awry at some point. And it's important to understand that just like the GPS that never gives up, it simply says recalculating. So if you take the wrong turn, the GPS never says, I'm done with you. Find your own way. I'm no longer part of this. It simply says recalculating. So even the best laid plans do go awry at time or do go astray at time. So it's important to understand as we reassess and find that we're not where we need to be, we can modify the plan as necessary. I normally say our target never changes, but our plan might change. So in other words, our target remains the same. We want to get to Cape Town. We might need to actually say when we get to Bloemfontein, let's hop on a plane. That's now the plan changes, but the goal remains focused. And that's important as a team as well. So participation allows members to exercise their creative ability. I always say, as a perfectionist, it's very easy to believe that I have everything nailed down. So again, if we go back to what I say, there's two things about involving a team. Number one, they get to understand what it is that we're trying to do. Number two, there's ownership in their involvement as well. So sometimes as leaders, it's easy to actually say, I've got the plan, this is the plan, this is what we're going to do. More often than not, halfway through that particular plan, and when things get tough, they say, but it's his plan anyway. Let him finish the plan. But if it's our plan, if this is our plan that we set off to do, I will work as hard as the next person in order to get that done. So it also assumes that everybody also has ideas to contribute, and they also feel they are part of the planning. Applied problem-solving skills as well. So when you have a team together, you also get to exercise problem-solving skills, because whether we like it or not every plan is going to be smooth sailing. So it's important that when we have our meetings, when we have our ExCom meetings, we place the problems at hand. I might think I have all the solutions, but if I don't get buy-in from everyone else, that might not work. Increase commitment to achieve the established goals that I've already explained, to say, if I've bought in it, I'm invested. I'm invested in actually achieving this. And that's one thing that we actually fail to do as leaders sometimes, is we're so keen on the result that we forget that there's a team that we need to take with us as well. Right, now this is just a reminder as I tie up at this point, a reminder that just tells us that the Distinguished Club program is one such plan that we have with goals that are actually set there. So it enables the club to establish the goals and develop a plan in order to achieve them. So now before I open up for a very short Q&A, I'd like to also explain the case study that we're going to jump into when we go into the breakout rooms. I've come up with a case study for a VPE, a treasurer, as well as a VPM and a VPPR. The questions are all the same, but the plans are definitely going to be different. And this allows us to actually now deliberately try and actually exercise the steps that we've actually gone to. At this point, I'm going to stop there and take any clarity-seeking questions before we get into our breakaway in order to develop plans as well. Right. My teacher used to say, it's either crystal clear or it's so muddy no one knows where to start asking the questions. I hope it's the former rather than the latter. But please do ask, feel free. And if you also want to, you can share your experience as well. Right, so we're saving it for the breakaway rooms. Estelle, I don't know if we have the 4 breakaway rooms prepared. So we have in room 1, we have the VPE question. I don't know if the delegates do have the questions at hand.
Will it be in the workbook, sir?
Estelle, if it should be in the workbook, yes.
So in the workbook on page 25 to 32, you will find all the questions that you need.
Awesome.
Can I open
We'll
breakout
also do
room?
the rounds.
Could you please post the workbook once again for those that didn't get it, or and for those that attended late or gotten late?
Will do, sir.
Awesome. Right. Okay. I look forward to your solutions, your plans, and how you navigate. And let's see what comes of it. And interesting solutions I look forward to.
I'm opening the breakout room, sir.
Awesome. It looks like everybody's assigned a group.
Correct.
I can visit one of these every now and then just to check how they're doing.
Yes, please. I think it would be great if you just visit every room so that they know exactly what they're supposed to do.
Awesome.
Great.
Right. I'm off to room 1 then.
Have fun.
Okay.
Bye.
Wow. Overachiever.
Overachiever year, end of the year.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, good people, for really good leaders, for really being understanding and good sports about this. Apologies once again for the blank screen when it came to the case study. But I do believe we all got back to the same page. No one was climbing on a rope. No one was being fanned out of the way. And no one was scratching themselves against a rough wall. We all were looking at the same. Right. So it's time to really share what kind of discussions and what kind of plans you came up with. And we will be scoring for innovation and most exciting solutions that came through. So we'll start with group 1. The group 1, I do believe you were helping out Sipogazi. I see Sitandiwe, you have your hand up. Oh, no, it's not your hand up. It's my hand. Sorry, it's my hand. Group 1. Ooh.
Thank you, thank you very much. We were helping Sipokas, who is our VPE. So when we looked at Sipokas's problem, is that this case study, we were supposed to look at ways in which Sipokas can assist the club members in trying to reach their goal or their target. The club members are demotivated. You know, they are not moving from one pathway, from one level to the next. So we looked at one we said she can assist the club members by assessing, you know, at the levels in which each club member is at. And having assessed them, she can look at developing with them a plan, you know, that each member, you know, would follow. And thirdly, if there are club members that are on the higher pathway than her, they can get mentors outside the club, you know, from other clubs, just to assist, you know, with those that might be on the higher level as her, and the exco maybe. And fourthly, we said she can assist or encourage the club members to visit other clubs, because that would also assist them, you know, in terms of inspiring them and getting new ideas from other clubs. My club fellow group members can add if there's anything that I have left out. Thanks.
Right, fellow club members, you have a minute or so to go.
Yes, we also mentioned that the role, or for the different tasks, the role players, the major role players, overarching one with the assessment task of who is where at which level, the VPE would be responsible mainly to identifying that. And in terms of goal setting, the whole exco, and also involving the club members in setting those goals. In terms of mentorship as well, to identify the relevant mentors. It doesn't matter whether those people are in the club, but even if they're not in the club, but we identify specific people that we believe as a club can be able to assist our different leveled club members to achieve their goals as well. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Right, anyone else to add from group one before I give my quick and sharp Right, it's red. So thank you so much. I love the innovative ways around that you would want to work around the whole slowness of progression through the goals. So the goal was set for you. It is to achieve the educational goals. You identified some of the impediments. You came up with very innovative ways of working around that. What I would have loved to see much more out of that kind of plan is I would have wanted to see milestones. What milestones should we see? How many projects would they have done after, say, 2 months? If this is a 2-month program, if it's a 6-month program, every 2 months, what are we measuring? What are we watching out for in that regard, so that we can recalibrate if we're not getting to where we're supposed to be getting to as well. We also looked at, I loved also what I should have said also, I loved also how you identified who's going to be responsible for the task. You spoke about mentorship. You spoke about people that are more advanced within the program as well. I would have loved to also hear about the impediments. What are the things that you could have run into, and what workarounds would have been? But nonetheless, well done, Group 1, for really helping Sipogazi. And I'm sure Sipogazi will be flying at that with that kind of backing from you. Moving on to Group 2. Who was in Group 2?
Hi, Bryton.
Yes.
We had a lovely group. We didn't know what question was going to be ours, so we took one. Our question was a plan to recruit 10 new members aligned with the intention to expand a club's membership. We had quite a list, number one, on time. The timeline was by June 2025. We first said, let's break it into 2 groups by February 5, by June 5, and then we thought, no, have a timeline of 2 per month between January and June. Then we went and we had a list of what we felt would be the best way to encourage getting those members: speechcraft, open house, +1s, approach previous members, social media campaigns, network sessions. with business and academia, local groups via different medias, demo meetings. We felt that there was too many to look at, so we focused just on approach previous members. Looking at this, the very first task was, how would we find these previous members? And Robin gave us a fantastic one that on TM's database, you can actually ask who was previous members, which is fabulous. We could use the Easy Speak for details. You could speak to existing club members who may have those members' details. And the very first one was, what we felt very important was trying to find those details. We needed somebody, and that would be the secretary who could get immediately in touch and get that going. But we needed to look at impediments because there would be quite a few. Number one, time constraints. Who was going to do all of this? Then we had email addresses that would expire, cell phone numbers that have expired. They might not have enjoyed their first time round by us. And very important, why did they leave? Looking at these, how can we solve them? And who would do it? Some of the examples given was a dramatic follow-up email. Who would look at setting that up? You would need the VPM to be able to write something very positive and dramatic to these new members. This is not just for the VPM. This is an entire exco which would need to be involved in this and be able to share it over the exco. How about a special letter from the district director, using the president maybe to help facilitate something like that would be a wonderful way. A personalized experience, assigning somebody specific to work one-on-one with this person, having coffee sessions, face-to-face, meeting them, speaking to them. Once again, assigning somebody to speak directly to the person, find out the whys before we can actually follow up to making them members once again. Then timing. January is the new you, as everybody knows, which would be fantastic to get those emails, the telephone calls going in January. Once again, we cannot leave it only to the VPM. We do need to speak to the entire exco, as this is quite a large task. And the one thing we would like to do by having one-on-one sessions, improve their Toastmaster experience and bring them back to the fold. Thank you so much.
Wow, wow, wow. I don't buy that story one bit, that you did not know what you were doing. You must have had the memo, because all the answers you gave are right in my memo. By the way, I really like the way you had clear idea. So it was really specific. You had 10 members, if I remember well, 2 every month, and you've almost sequenced that timeline as well. So it's always clear, and you know what you're actually working towards. You had a number of interventions. I ran out of, memory trying to store these solutions that you came up with, that you proffered as a group. You focused on one and you worked on that particular one as requested. Oh, by the way, you're helping Tibatso. Tibatso was only asked to get 5 members by Q3. You're looking at 10 members. Well done, super overachievers. You are there in that particular group. What other things did I like about it? The milestones were quite clear, so you're able to actually go back and look through your plan. I also like the clarity in that it's not just going to be the poor Tabato VPM Tabato who's going to be looking through this. You assigned responsibilities, you identified other people as well, and then what impediments are there? Wow, you really went to town with what could go wrong, and it's important to list these so that when they do come up, you're able to actually action on those. Well done, group two. I really ran out of things that you could have actually solidified that with. I'm glad we have this recording. We'll share it generously for those clubs that want to achieve 10 new members in Q3. Right, moving along to our group three. Group three, I do believe, were the treasurers helping Jitesh.
Yes, three is in the house. Thank you. We're helping Jitesh with the challenge of, we had basically two challenges, and I'll just expand a little bit on them. One was ensuring financial sustainability, and the other challenge was the increasing of costs for events and resources. And we had said that, okay, we've defined the challenge, and some of the tactical plans that Jitesh could attempt was, how would we measure success, or what does success look like for us? We said we will break down payments for members so that instead of paying one lump sum every 6 months or so, they could have consistent monthly payments towards the renewal period, preferably for that amount to be the same throughout the period. We said we will review that every 2 months or so to ensure that members are on track in making payments, as well as keep our spending low by, for instance, instead of meeting personally every meeting, we can have 2 meetings online, 2 meetings in person in a month, so that our expenditure will be reduced. We'll be able to save a little bit of money if we do it that way. We also said we would suggest that every member will pay an extra amount for club dues or club fees. For instance, adding an extra 25 rand into the monthly payments will see us having more money coming in than we're spending, which will put us in a good space financially. And we had suggestion to say we can also raise funds for the club, such as having auctions on books where people can come and auction some of the books that they've read, and that will increase income for the club. And in terms of who will be responsible for the identified tasks, we had said that we will encourage personal ownership and encourage members to have their own goals that they can measure up. We will also have a mentor for each of the members, so that there is a level of accountability on the goals they have set for themselves, and they will continuously review those goals to make sure there is accountability in making sure that they achieve their goals. Personal ownership, for instance, if a member had committed to say they'll pay a certain amount every month, we will encourage that them to keep going in terms of achieving that goal. And holistically, or at the end of the day, the club will end up achieving all their goals if we do it that way. And that point will also touch on the inconsistency of attendance, where you'll see members having an accountability to keep attending, therefore will renew their membership because they've paid, they're attending, and the club is also getting a bit of income. And in terms of impediments, we have listed one. We'll say sometimes, people do set out goals, but unfortunately, life does happen. We did say that the goal does not change, only the plans change. So what we will do, we will set up reminders for members to make payments. For instance, within the club meeting, we will just make a side note to say, just remember, for those that have made a commitment, please honor it. We can also encourage on like a WhatsApp group so that there's consistency, or even only for those members who are not making payment as they have committed. We'll just chat to them on the side to just encourage them, find out what's happening, and to make sure that they make the commitment. So that's the plan, or some of the things that we have discussed. And I would like to give members of the group any points that I might have missed, or anything where they would like to add. I would encourage my team members to add. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And members, please do not hate me. But unfortunately, I'll not be able to allow the members to come through. We did have one group. If with your indulgence, I know we are at 8 o'clock sharp, but we have one more group to run through. If they could just give us their feedback. That's the group that helped Dominique. Dominique was the VPPR, and basically wants to modernize and have a good presence in the social media. Over to you, Luciano. 4 minutes.
Hi, good one. So I'll try to do my best within 4 minutes. So there are a couple of points that we wanted to do. Is our main objective was to empower people to find their voice. So that was our main objective, that we would use the strategies of using social media at the end of the day. So one of the things that we did is first is determine what was our audience. So our audience is young professional and young academia staff. So that means that the social media that we would use would be social media where we're gonna find this target people, this target audience. Very important. Then second item that we did also is determine our resources. So who are the people that are gonna be responsible to posting, updating information in this different media platforms that we're gonna be using. So we divide and conquer the social media. That's one thing. And the other thing that we did is through our strategy is utilize Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn in such a way that we would stream our meetings live on the social media, Instagram, and would also build we're gonna build a library of all past meetings within YouTube, so that when we attract people, they can see what you've done, our body of work, and also have short ad campaigns like 30 seconds, 10 seconds to bring in new members, which are very important. So that's when it comes to attract members. But however, there are other aspects. We need to measure if we are achieving our goal, our KPIs. So one of our KPIs is checking our number of followers in social media. That's one KPI. The other KPI what's the correlation between the number of followers on social media to new members that we're making in? Are we transferring the followers? Are we transforming the followers into members of the club? And if we're not doing that, then we need to revisit the social media that we're using, and the message that we're transferring. Because only by doing that can we actually achieve our goal. And one thing that we discuss, we focus on is we have to utilize the continuous improvement aspect, the Kaizen, as the Japanese say, is we test and analyze and improve. We test, analyze, and improve. So that's extremely important that we're gonna be using. So, and those are some of our main KPIs: number of people turning followers into new members of the club. And at the end of the day, our main objective is empower people to find their voice. Once they find their voice, they'll bring new members in. So that was our main objective.
Wow,
Thank you.
wow. Talk about left-brained, hey, correlations and so on. This is impressive. But ladies and gentlemen, I know these were beautiful, excellent plans, initiatives that we've put out there with clear goals that we're targeting. The purpose of the exercise was for us to be deliberate. All of us do planning every day, but maybe not as methodically as the science would have it. So the idea is to take these beautiful plans, make sure we can monitor them, make sure there's milestones, make sure measuring, make sure we assign responsibilities to the people that will actually deliver on that. Thank you so much. I am going to hand over to our PQD, who is going to take to the close of today's program. Thank you so much for being an awesome crowd and having such innovative ideas out there. I will post memos to this, the memos that some people stole from my PC. Over to you, Mr. PQD.
Thank you, Mr. Club Road Director Bryton and Masiye, DTM. Thank you for taking us through the planning and putting goals and being deliberate and intentional about setting those goals, because we understand that as leaders, that is one of our most important function, to set goals. After you set a vision, you must set goals and have strategies to achieve those goals, including tactics and plans on how to achieve that. And I couldn't have chosen a better person to present this, or we couldn't have chosen a better person to present this like Bryton Masiye. I learned a lot from him when it comes to such stuff. He loves spreadsheets, he loves numbers. So he helps me a lot to achieve a lot of my goals as well. Personally, including in Toastmasters, and I really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, let me thank you for remaining consistent in attending these events or attending these sessions, because we are building from session to session. And by the time you finish this session, we want you to be an overall leader, a leader that can be able to come up with a vision, choose a team, inspire a team, be able to coach a team, and eventually work to serve the purpose that you want to serve. And for you to do that, you would need to attend each and every session. And by the way, remember, we don't want this just to be a talk show. We want you to leave here with practical skills. And that's why we take you to breakout rooms. As much as we take you to breakout rooms for 15 minutes or 10 minutes, we know that might be enough to jog your brain. But over and above that, we want you to be to get practical skills and even practical examples on how you can do this. And that's why we would love for you to take about 4 to 6, take a project that will last you for about 4 to 6 weeks and present it as a portfolio of evidence to say, I've done this and this is what I've come up with, and then we can get a certificate. Let me see on the chat if there's any project that you are already working on or that you're already thinking about. Please type on the chat and tell me if you're working on building a club, just say a club building, or if you're working on being a coach, a mentor, or you would, and for those that would love to get a project, please just respond with project. Just say project. And for those that are already working on a project, just on the chat, just say, this is a project I'm working on, just 1 or 2 words. Preparing youth leadership program, that's great. Refilo is looking for a project. Nikki's orientation, that's great. Agnes is looking for a project. Kanisa is looking for a project. Area contest, that's a great one. An award event. Zolisa is looking for a project. Fantastic. So for those that are looking for projects, please send me a text on 066-234-7806. 066-234-7806. Estelle is also going to put her numbers on the chat. Just email her something, send us something. Then we've got some exciting projects that the CGD is working on, the PQD is working on, or some of our teams that are working on, including new clubs, including coaching new or mentoring new clubs and coaching those clubs that are struggling. So these are great projects that you can work in. Hey, by the way, we've got a conference and we need some team members in the conference. So these are exciting projects that you can work on. So text me there, and then we are going to send you a sheet that will maybe a PDF that will say, hey, these are the projects that we have, and these are the people that you can contact to be part of this project. Please remain consistent. And over and above it all, I would love for you to remember that while we are giving you this, we go out there and practice these skills. And as I bid you good night, remember, nothing less than your very best is acceptable. And if you are satisfied with your very best, there's always an option to improve your very best. Good night.
Mr. PQD, can we quickly take pictures?
Oh, a picture, yes. You see, I love it when I work with people that understand PR. Please put on your video before you leave so that we can take some pictures.
Great, thank you. Almost everyone on page 1 is on and frowning. Maureen. Great, can we have our first picture? Smiling picture in 3, 2,
Put on your video and put on your best smile.
1. Great, that's page 1. I'm going to move over to page 2 now. Great. If you're on page 2, please smile. If you don't know on which page you are, just keep on smiling like you, Maureen. In 3, 2, and 1. Great, thank you. I have both pages. Thank you, Ms. PQD.
Thank you, everyone. Have an awesome evening. See you next week, where we will be meeting Angie Kivido, who will be talking about how to delegate as a leader.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a lovely evening, Frida.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Lovely evening.
Bye-bye.
Okay, as South Africans.
I have a question. Estelle, what
Yes.
country code is the cell phone number? What country code is that? Is that South Africa, Namibia?
Yes, sorry, it's +27. It's South Africa.
South Africa. All
Sorry.
right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Same to you, Estelle.
Bye. Hi, Vivian. Sorted? Everyone sorted?